guys, Algebra 2. This is Miss Peltier back for our 6th installment of our distance learning via COVID virus shutdown. So hopefully everything's going well for you. It should be about April the 3rd. So I'll put our date up here, April the 3rd. The next, this assignment and the next 3 assignments after this will all be worksheets. We're not going to have IXL that go along with those. The IXL just doesn't give you enough of the kind of problems that we want you to see. So, in fact, it doesn't have any of these kinds that we have here. So, don't forget Hangouts 9, 11, 1, and 2. Jump on, you can go to my webpage and find the links. You can find them in the Google Classroom on that front page. Anything else that you might need, email me if you need something. Even though you're doing a worksheet, your assignment will still be due on the 8th, which will be the Wednesday following the 3rd. So you have a little bit of time. You have some time to ask questions if you need to, okay? So we're going to start solving some equations that have fractions in them. And we've been doing some work with fractions. So what we've been doing is sort of getting us ready for this, which is really the main thing for Algebra 2 for this unit. But we're going to go back and visit some that you may have seen in Algebra 1 to get you ready for what we do with our rational equations, okay? So when you have fractions, many different ways you could solve this. You could collect your like terms because your denominators are the same, fairly simple. But we're going to follow basically these 3 steps because as our problems get more and more difficult, we want to make sure that we have the same basic steps to follow, okay? So first we want to find the LCD, which remember least common denominator. So looking at all of our fractions, we have 5/4, we have x, and we have 3/4. Well, notice I have 2 denominators of 4, and then the x doesn't really have a denominator, but really remember it does because you can put it over 1. So if I wanted to find my common denominator, or my LCD for this problem, I would simply take my denominators, multiply them together, but remember we don't have to double the 4. The 4 is a denominator. So really, my least common denominator that they have would be 4. We're going to take that denominator and we're going to multiply all of the fractions. I'm going to say just multiply the tops because we're multiplying it by 4/1, if you will. But you don't have to write the 1. It kind of clutters up our work anyway. So we're going to multiply every single thing. Notice it says multiply every term by the LCD. That means clear across the fraction. Every single thing gets multiplied by that. Now I'm going to show you basically and then solve, but let's do our multiplication first. When we multiply those, I want you to see how it works so that you see later, oh, we don't have to do that step every single time. If I were to multiply these, that gives me 20/4, which we know 20/4 reduces to be 5/1 or just 5. So do you see that your 4's really just cancel? Okay. In the second one, when we multiply 4 times x, we get 4x/1, which is the same as just saying 4x. And then in the same one, we have multiply 3 times 4 gives us 12/4, which we know 12/4 reduces to be 3, which if you notice at the beginning, if we just reduced, because this denominator, if we found the LCD, the least common denominator, all of the denominators should divide into that number. If they don't, we pick the wrong number. And that leaves us with just 3. And now it's a simple equation to solve. So we would add 5 to both sides, subtract 5 from both sides, and get 4x is equal to -2. Divide both sides by 4, and we get -1/2. Now, it will become a problem later when we have variables in the denominator. We're going to have to check for extraneous roots, and we looked at extraneous roots when we did radical equations, where we have to plug it in. We don't have to do that on here because notice all my denominators are constant, so we're good to go. We know that is a good answer. You can always plug it back in to check just to make sure. Okay, so let's look at another one. Notice I have two fractions again. This time when I'm looking for my LCD, between 4 and 7, remember the A is attached to the 3/7, so I don't have to worry about the A. But with 4 and 7, if you're not sure how to find your LCD, remember if they don't have any common factors, just multiply those two together. So our common denominator is going to be 28. We're going to take that 28 and we're going to multiply everything by 28. And when I do that, I'm going to save that step because I really don't want to multiply 28 times 3. I could do it, but I really don't want to. So notice 28 can be divided by 4. So think of that as just reducing your fraction. 4 goes into 28 7 times. And now you're just doing 7 times -3, which is a -21, sorry. A -21. Okay, fairly simple. Same thing here. It's a common denominator. So 7 goes into 28 4 times. So I'm really doing 3 times 4, which gives me 12a. And now I have an easy equation, no fractions, so we don't have to be all worried about it, and we just divide by our 12. When we divide by 12, we end up with -21 over 12, but notice that reduces. Something that goes into 21 and 12 would be a 3, so that would give me -7 over 4 would be my final value for my A. Hopefully that kind of makes a little bit of sense. You remember doing that. This is a refresher because you've done these before. Okay? Sometimes when your numbers are very large and you're looking for your common denominator, your P is over 1. If you're looking for your common denominator, first, a lot of times it's easy to check and see, does this number divide into that one? Well, if 4 divides into 20, then I can just use 20 as my common denominator. Keep it simple. You don't have to multiply those and use 80. Use 20. So if I use 20, and I'm going to multiply everything by 20, notice I have 3 things I'm multiplying. Now when I do my reducing, 20 goes into 20 one time. 1 times 19 is 19. Here, 1 and 20, I don't have to worry about reducing, but that gives me 20p. And then here, my 4 goes into 20 5 times. Notice it is a -5. Some of my students, you're used to seeing me do plus a negative, so I don't lose that. -5 times 5 gives me a -25. And then when we solve, we'll add 25 to both sides. When we add 25 to 19, we get 44 is equal to 20p. When we divide by our 20, we get 44 over 20, but hopefully you recognize that that does reduce. 4 goes into both of those. 4 goes into 44 11 times, and 4 goes into 20 5 times. So 11 over 5 is our p-value. Okay? So not a whole lot of examples today, but your work that you have, the handout, it does have multiple choice. So if you don't get an answer that's there, you probably messed up. So double check your work. Ask questions. Log on to our Google Hangouts. Remember, Mr. Cleland will be on at 9 o'clock. I'm at 11 o'clock. Ms. Blatt is at 1 o'clock. And Mr. Monbruin is at 2 o'clock. I'll do another one at 7 p.m. as long as that's still working with everybody. And I'll have the link set up. So all you have to do is click on the link and it'll take you straight to the Google Hangout. All right. So hope y'all have a good day. Hope you're staying safe, staying inside, doing what they ask us to do. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. And have a good day. Be careful. Hope to see y'all soon. Bye.